Hello and welcome back to Flosstube number 3. I'm Britta Dasick. Channel name is Britta's Always Crafting because I am always crafting, and my pronouns are she, her. Thank you for stopping by today and for coming back. If you've been here before, welcome. I am so excited to get into this, to get into the new year, and to share what I've been up to for the past 2.5 months. I have, once again, been busy. Weird. Just to note that I am using a microphone for the very first time today, so I'm trying my best. We will see how it goes. Honestly, I might go back to just using the one in my phone, but we will see. And you will see later that I use it for the very first time in a little excerpt that I will show you. Quick housekeeping. This is my 3rd episode. Feel free to go back and watch the first 2 if you haven't already. Those will go through my whips, and it will go through some things like why I use this little popping sound. I have been gone for 2.5 months pretty much. I filmed at the end of October. Today is January 3rd because I was in Japan for like almost an entire month. And you'll probably notice that I mentioned it in my first video, but I did not mention it in my second video. I wanted to make sure that my house sitters had a good chance of our house staying nice and calm, you know? Probably not going to put that out on the internet. So just a quick reminder, I also use chapters. If you want to jump around, the chapter titles should be just right in the scroll bar itself or in the description box below. If there's something you are not interested in, that's fine. I don't mind. You don't have to tell me. So we went to Japan from the 24th of November until the 12th of December. So I spent some time stitching before that and a little bit after that, but my stitching numbers were way down for November and December. I mean, as they should be, right? We had the best time in the entire world in Japan. Every single day was awesome. Truly, I've never been on a trip like it and cannot wait to go again. It was just so much fun. I went to so many craft stores and do plan to do like a full Flosstube extra where I go through some of my favorite photos, food, and share like a review of the different crafting stores that I went to. Mostly because, not for any like, I'm not looking to be a reviewer or anything, but it is very hard to find info on crafting stores in Japan. And as many of you know, even finding stitching stores in the US, it's hard to know if something's actually a craft store or if it's like an embroidery service or things like that. So I would love to share the info that I have found, that I've rummaged through, and then also just the stuff that I stumbled upon when I was there. I'm just going to start off with a general thank you. I know that there have probably been some mentions, and there have definitely been some questions from the last video, but I am still on vacation. For 2 more days, I am still on vacation and don't have to go back to the office yet, and so I'm not doing very much admin work right now. The prep I did for this video is to make sure that I watched the last video so I knew what I talked about, and that I have my like how to dye things all ready and filmed. It is actually all edited. So the dyeing section, you'll be able to look down in the description and see where it is in the video. It's going to be a little bit later in the video because I want to do my updates at front, and then there's more explanation involved. You'll see. Like I said, I am doing my best. And this is like, you know, I'm trying to have fun with it. So not everything is perfect. Editing Britta is going to have a really fun time with this one, obviously, because I'm a little all over the place, and we'll just kind of see what happens. So if I leave something out or you have any further questions, please leave them in the comments below and I will answer. This is just kind of the brain you're working with when you have hot chocolate and cookies all day and then hang out with your friends and then everyone's toddler is screaming, which that's been a lot of like me trying to reset myself. It's just like, oh, the toddler screamed. Okay, we need to come back to ourselves because my life is just filled with toddlers and none of them are mine. So first I have some finishes that I would love to show you. I have 2 works in progress, including a new start, and then I will get to the dyed fabric. First of all, we have Haunted Hounds. I need to give myself some time to let the thing sit up in the corner. This is all the information about it. If there's a discrepancy between what I say and what's popping up in this corner, the corner is most likely right. Because me, I don't know anything. This is my first day as a human. So this is Haunted Hounds. This is from the Blue Flower. It is a freebie on their own website, which is awesome. I did this on 28 count flax linen, and I did my own DMC conversion with this one just to make the dogs a little bit more like dogs I know in my real life. On the right hand side here is Waffle. I altered the ears a little bit because he has Dorito ears. We have Ozzy in the middle, which is his puppyhood best friend. He's way bigger than this. And then over here we have one of my favorite dogs that I've ever met in my entire life, Kazoo, who she's kind of just an anxious, nervous wreck, but she's my soul dog. And she has wonderful parents that love her very much, and I'm not planning on stealing her from them, but if they should write me into their will. That's so that I can have her. That's Kazoo. This is really cute design. It's just a little spooky, a little doggy, a little everything, and I have no idea how I'm going to mount it, where I'm going to put it, or anything like that. It might look good in a hoop. That's kind of what I'm thinking. This is 1,009 stitches. It says on here that I finished it in 2 days, which sounds a little bit suspicious to me, but I know for sure that I did finish this during the World Series Game 7, which is one of the best World Series Game 7s of the entire history of the World Series, even though the Blue Jays lost and I was really rooting for them. Gotta appreciate good baseball though. Next up, we have Snack-O-Lantern, which was a work in progress from last video. It is finished. This is Snack-O-Lantern. It is by Boomerang Stitches. Amity is a really great minimalist kind of designer. This is on vintage smoky white 14 count Zweigart Aida. And I'm absolutely in love with this pattern because it is so neutral and it is going to look so great framing this raccoon stealing candy. I probably finished this on Halloween when I was waiting for trick-or-treaters, which is always weird and fun in our neighborhood because our neighborhood is very eclectic. You never really know what you're gonna get, and it was, of course, freezing this year. But I really love this design from Boomerang Stitches. Her designs were so easy to follow, and her color choices are great. I just highly, highly recommend. If you have any that are in your cart and you're thinking about starting something new, definitely check out her designs because they are so clean and easy to stitch. I am also going to throw in this fully finished that I shared last time. I had it boarded, but I didn't have it in a frame. This is the Quaker-Style Halloween. I'll put the info right here so you can look into it if you are so inclined. I ended up going with a signed and numbered frame. They have an Etsy shop and then a regular shop as well. And if you didn't know this, if you're able to purchase via their regular shop, they almost always will get more of the money than if you go through Etsy. They usually have to pay advertising fees and things like that. So for any store that you're looking to support, see if they have a regular website because you'll be giving them more of your money, but it won't cost you anymore. But yes, so signed and numbered. I got a 6x6 frame. I believe this is maple, but I'll put it on the screen if I'm wrong. And this is gonna go, we have this like German pine wall. It was not my choice. It was installed by the people who flipped our house, but it's a nice dark wood. So I wanted something that would still be natural, but stick out from it. So this is the Halloween style Quaker. This is Tokyo Tower. For a lot of reasons, you can probably tell why I'm stitching this. I did take this to Japan with me and got stitches in on the plane. This design is by the NeedleMinderLair, and she has a lot of these like dreamy Japan things, and they're almost, a lot of them are full coverage. This one is definitely full coverage. And as you can see, I've gotten pretty darn far on it. I am at 77.13%, which is awesome. I started this on November 16th, right before we left for our trip, mostly looking to get some areas that I could fill in on the plane. And I've just been working on it ever since. This is actually the only thing I worked on in December when it comes to CrossStitch, and it's the only thing I've worked on in January so far, which is 2 days. So this fabric is 20 count Aida, RIT Dyed by me. It's using the called for DMC. It should be finished the next time you see it. I had a whole grand plan to take a picture of this in front of Tokyo Tower. You know what? Didn't have time. It's crazy. You run out of time to do all of the things. So I would have loved to get a picture of this in front of Tokyo Tower, but at the same time, it wasn't finished enough for it to look like anything. But it looks like this now, and maybe I'll bring it with me on our next trip. Who knows? I really have enjoyed stitching on this. There are big blocks of color, and then there are also like setup stitches that you can do, like all these buildings and stuff down here. I don't know if I'd be like jumping to do another one of these designs right away, but it is something different, and I believe it is my first full coverage, unless I did something when I was a kid. And I really like being able to run my finger over it as I fill in more areas, and we're getting really close to it being like done. And my last work in progress to share with you today is Ragnarok. Talked about this in my plans for last time that I really wanted to get some more stitches in on this. I did surpass my 5,000 stitch goal on this one and kind of just kept going. I wanted to get as much of this page done as possible, and now I just have this little half page left on the side here. It's coming along swimmingly, and it's really easy to get absolutely absorbed into this and just not want to do anything else. And that's what most of my November was. So pretty much after I filmed my last video, I finished up Snack Lantern and then I worked on this and just put a ton of stitches in it. It's at 48.49% now, and it is on Zweigart Rustico 20 count Aida. So I just really like the look that this dark teal is like, there's so much contrast here, and my husband's really excited for me to finish it because it will hang up in his office when it's done. So he loves seeing the progress, and that makes me really happy that he's interested in one of my hobbies. So next I wanted to share my dyeing fabric adventure. This was also my first adventure using the mic, and I whispered the whole time. So you'll either love that or hate that. You can turn on captions and turn off the sound if you want. I won't be offended. I've learned things. It's all a learning process, and that is the fun part of this. And as you can see in my Tokyo Tower, there were some mishaps. So you can see that there's like some blue veining in here. It's way worse in the back too. Oh yeah, here's the back of my Tokyo Tower. So I ended up with some really beautifully dyed fabric. Almost none of it went to plan. And that's fine. It's a learning experience. It's a hobby. It's not supposed to be quick, easy. I'm not looking to like actually save money here. I'm looking to spend my time doing something that I love. So I'm going to let the video roll and you can see how I went about the dyeing process. And I will film this again when I have a better idea of how to film this so that you can see what I'm doing actually in the kitchen. Hello from the past. Today I wanted to share the way that I dye fabric and process it myself. Like I've said before in my previous videos, I learned most of this from YouTube, and especially Abby's video from Pansy Stitches. I'll link that in the description below, but this is how I do it, and none of this information is original or new. Just letting you know. So I have my fabric pieces prepped here. I have cut them down to size. This one's for Blueberry Harvest. And as you can see here on the top in an iron erasable pen, I have BH, and then I also have the color blue. And then in the corner, I went in with permanent marker and I wrote the same thing. So this way, once I have heated up, exposed it to color and the iron, I can still tell which size or for which piece this is. And I did that the same with everything else. This is for Cherry Magpie, and it's going to be pink. This is Tokyo Tower, and it's going to be light pink. This is for Nature's Journey, and it's going to be tan. This is for Yule Cat, and it's going to be a tealy blue. And this is for Autumn Town, it's going to be a lighter green. So as you can see, I've sewn zigzag stitch around all of these, especially on ones like this where every single side is not a selvage edge. I do not want to go through the dyeing process and squeezing and rinsing and all of that stuff without having these zigzagged or serged. I just did this using a regular machine, and you can go off the edge on one side of the zigzag, so highly recommend doing this. There are also local yarn or local needle shops where they will cut and serge the fabric for you, which is awesome, but I don't have a local needle shop close to me. And then here's the card that I've prepared. This has all my dye recipes on it for today. All I did was just go to the RIT Dyed website, and they have a formulas page where you can really see what each color is going to look like. So you'll see here that almost every single one except for Tokyo Tower up here in the corner has 2 dye recipes. So for Tokyo Tower though, I'm going to do Hint of Fuchsia, and that's 1/2 cup fuchsia. Now when you have the website open on RIT Dye, it automatically thinks you're dyeing jeans. You can switch it to a different item, but all I need really are the ratios. So if I'm mixing more than 2 colors together, or more than one color, I need to know how much in relation to each other they are. Like this one at the bottom here, Caterpillar. It's 1 tablespoon of golden yellow, 1 tablespoon of lemon yellow, and 1 tablespoon of Kelly green. I won't be using those tablespoons, but I will be doing equal amounts of those and just not very much of them. Same thing when you see on Yule Cat, my second recipe, Macao Blue, calls for 2 bottles of aquamarine. I will not be using 2 bottles of aquamarine. I will just use a lot. I'm not dyeing that much fabric. So these are recipes so that I could theoretically recreate them, but it'll just be close if I do it again. I've marked how big the fabric is, what the design name is, what color I'm going for in each of the recipes. I've also put the design area. This way, since I know it's a 10 by 10 piece of fabric and a 5 by 5 design, if when I'm doing the fabric and I see that 1 inch over to the right is where it actually would look perfect to have the design, I can mark that down and just work 1 inch over to the right. So I wanted to share what tools that I'm using for this. I want to note that everything I'm using is specifically kept in a place where I'm only using it for dyeing projects, or if I had some other non-food purpose. I will be using my kitchen sink and I will be clearing everything out of it first. There are definitely some dirty dishes in there right now. Check the bottles, read the bottles, and follow your local recommendations. I'm not an expert, but in my reading of the instructions, I think the way that I'm doing it is okay. So I have containers. I have old deli containers, this small Rubbermaid container, which I use for mixing up the dye. I have this old IKEA container that I can scrunch the fabric down into the bottom. I have a wooden spatula, which is marked non-food for squishing things down. Gloves. I use this to make sure my fingers aren't dyed. From what I've read, you don't have to use gloves if you don't want to. I have to be in the office tomorrow, so. And then I have some more Rubbermaid. Basically just grab things that don't go with whatever's in our cabinet so they can be non-food. And I also have a pot. I don't believe I'll be using this today. This is an old pot, like the handle's like coming off of it. And we have another pot that's exactly the same size, so this one is my non-food one. I have used this in the past for tea and coffee dyeing, and I recommend picking up something at a thrift store if you need a pot like that. For most of my dyeing, I will probably be using these deli containers because my fabric should fit pretty neatly in the bottom of it. I think for my bigger pieces, this might work really well. It depends how variegated I want it. Of course, then I have my RIT dyes. I pulled out all the colors that I will be using today. Both of my tans, my taupe and my tan. I have 2 of my yellows, golden yellow and lemon yellow. 2 of my blues, aquamarine and teal. And then fuchsia. And my new one, Kelly green. Just a side note, so I know I'm trying not to spend that much money on things that I can't use for more than one thing. So every time I determine I need to buy a new color for RIT dye, I make sure to go on the website and click around on a lot of the colors I like, and make sure that color appears in a lot of recipes. For aquamarine, this appears in almost every single recipe that I tend to gravitate towards, so this was a no-brainer. Same thing with fuchsia. Kelly green was a little bit harder to pick out, but I only have about 5 colors in my stash that I'm not using today, and I'm feeling pretty proud of that. If you're in the market to buy 2 or 3 RIT dyes, make sure to go through those recipes and click on which colors you find the most fascinating or which ones really speak to you. And you should be able to make some sort of list of like, these are the ones that appeared the most that'll probably benefit me. Also knowing that yellow and blue could be mixed together to make green. I just need this Kelly green because there's something in here that's just a little bit more green than I can probably get with the aquamarine. So let's start dyeing. I'm going to walk you through completely one of the fabrics that I'm doing today and then do the rest as I go. I like to have 2 dyes going at the same time because the fabric will be sitting in them for about 10 to 15 minutes. I'm not going to do the same color dye at the same time. As you saw in my project card, I have 2 columns. So I have like one that are pinks and a tan and one that is the teals and a green. So I'm going to pair the pink and the blue, the pink and the blue and the tan and the green together so that I will easily be able to tell which container is which as I go, and maybe even be able to use some of the previous dye that I used in the previous round in order to build my color for the next round. I'm going to start with fuchsia for my hint of fuchsia for my Tokyo Tower one, and I am also going to whip up my pale aquamarine for my blueberry harvest, and that's the one that I'll show you the full steps through. I'm going to start out boiling some water in my tea kettle so I can just pour it in and make the dye recipes as I go, and also wetting the fabric that I am about to use. So my water is boiled and hot, and I have wet my 2 fabrics. This one is the Tokyo Tower one, so this will just be getting a light pink dye, and this is the Blueberry Harvest one, so this will be getting the blue. You don't have to actually wet these first, but I find that it gives you better crinkles. As you can see here, it's already kind of wrinkly, and that is what I'm going for. So now what I'm going to do is just start gathering this with the Tokyo Tower one. I'm not going to do this in any specific pattern. I'm mostly going for an overall dye in a very light pink. This is full coverage, but I wanted the pink ring around the outside. So this will just be kind of plopped in there, not very crinkly. And I'll probably use a little bit more dye and water. to really get it kind of even. If there's a little bit of variegation in there, that's fine with me. So as you can see here, it's not super scrunched down in there, but just loosely scrunched in a way that I will probably find visually appealing. And then for Blueberry Harvest, I do want to get a little bit more specific with the scrunching, and I want to have more consistent scrunching. So I'm really going to go in there with my fingers and start gathering it up in kind of consistent peaks and valleys, but in all directions. And then I'll stuff it in the bottom of a cup again too. And as you can see for this one, this is what the Blueberry Harvest one is looking like. I did in this bottom of this very small container, and it's about as high and tall. There aren't any peaks sticking out. This one I'll be doing kind of a more all over color, and then the second round will be a little bit, I'll use a little bit less water so that there's more parts of interest in the thing. But this one's to get the color down and make sure there's no white. I'm going to mix up the dyes now. So I've added some boiling water to the bottom of this container and another container, and I'll be using these to mix my dyes. For the fuchsia, I'm just going to add about half a bottle top full of the fuchsia. This one, it tells me to add 3 times as much, 1.5 teaspoons of aquamarine. So I'll probably use about bottle cap plus a little extra, and that should give me the color that I'm looking for. Make sure to shake up your RIT dyes beforehand very, very well and right before you pour them. I just forgot to do that, and I need to start over adding my dye. Alright, then I will use my wooden spoon to mix this up, or just swirl it around in the container until I think it's fully even. And now I'm going to pour it in to my little cup that needs to be blue all around the sides. I probably will not use all of this, and I'm going to do it over the pan just in case I spill. Usually I would do this right over the kitchen sink, but the lighting is better over here. So as you can see here, I did add quite a bit of blue. Remember, we're going for all over color here, not keeping any of the white. So there's a little bit of white showing on the top there. I'm going to squish that in and then leave this for about 15 minutes and see how it turns out. The reason I'm pouring down the sides of the container is that it tends to stick to the fabric right where it hits the most. So if you pour it over the middle, you'll likely have some dark spots right in the middle, whereas this is a little bit more of a gentler way. And if you have dark spots on the outside of your fabric, that's fine. You're not going to be seeing it in the final product anyways. So I'm going to add the fuchsia around the outside, but also add quite a bit of it so that it has more of a dye bath than just sitting there trying to pick up as much of the pink as it possibly can with a little amount of water. With this pink one, since I'm going for better overall coverage, I might actually flip it halfway through and let the other side of the fabric get some dye too. And then this one I will let sit just like this, and if we need to dye it again with this exact same dye, we have the option to do that. So it's been about 10 minutes for this pink one, and as you can see, the color is fairly dark in here. Most of this will wash out, but I do want this to be on the lighter side, so I'm going to start washing this one out and I'll let the blue cook for a few more minutes. So I've washed this out. I've rinsed with cold water until it's run completely clear, and now I'm going to iron it to see what the color actually is. This is always going to be a little bit darker than it turns out. That said, this is a little bit darker than I was expecting. I probably used a little bit too much fuchsia dye, so I'm going to take out the blue one right now too, because I know it's going to be dark. So this is what the blue looks like when I pulled it out of its dye bath. I think it's going to be just right when it dries, but I'm glad I pulled it out now. I pulled most of the stuff. I pulled the pink at about 10 minutes and the blue at about 11 and a half minutes. I'm going to go iron these now. Always use a towel that you don't care about that much when you're ironing these, because your ironing board will get dye on it if you're not careful. Okay, I am back with the results of the first round. So here is the pink, and the lighting is not great, but this is a pretty good accurate representation here. Our light is fading fast. It turned out a little bit darker than I was hoping for, but this is going to be a full coverage piece anyways, and so the fact that it's a little bit darker is fine with me. I will say I was using a dark colored towel as my to protect my ironing board, and it rubbed off on my dye. Thankfully this side is totally fine, so this is the side I'll be using, but now I am using a light colored old bath towel because I have learned my lesson. This is what Blueberry Harvest looks like. It's a tiny bit darker than I was going for, but that just means I'll go really light on the next pass when I do a hint of teal. I wanted to show you really what I'm going for here. You see these light spots? They kind of make it look like it's unfinished. So that's why I'm doing 2 rounds of dye on this. Because you can just see it looks like it's not dyed all the way, not necessarily like it's modeling, but this will set us up for a lot of success in our next round. I'm going to repeat this process again, use the same small cup. So I'm going to use teal instead of aquamarine, some boiling water, and I'll use less dye this time and let it sit the full 15 minutes so that I hopefully get a little bit more modeling on this one to cover up some of these areas where it's lighter, and I'll be very specifically scrunching it up, getting it wet and then scrunching it up to put in the bottom of that so that I know that the modeling is going to look comparable with what it looks like on this round. Alright, so I did get the pink wet and dry it again, and we do have a little bit of that texture still. It's actually on both sides. But I did a little bit of measuring, and since I know the design will only take up 5 inches by 5 inches on this, I'll be able to move it a little bit away from this by just a half an inch or so, and then you won't be able to tell in the final piece at all. But important to learn these lessons. And here is what the fabric is looking like after I've done the teal on it. The sun is coming in at a weird angle, so it's hard to see. I'll show you when I iron it, but it is definitely has 2 shades of blue in it now, and it's pretty subtle. So we'll see what it looks like after I iron it. I'm going to be very careful this time not to contaminate the iron, because I think that's actually what happened last time. I think I ironed on the blue, and then I ironed on the pink, and it transferred on the tops of those wrinkles. So I'm going to be very careful this time. Alright, and then this is how the blue piece of fabric turned out. You can see there are some lighter and darker spots in there, but it has a little bit more depth to it, which I really enjoy. I'm still working on the whole iron thing, because on the back I still got a little cross-contamination with the pink. I think this means that I'll switch my strategy and do the green and the blue together next round. I'm learning as I go. This is harder to do when I'm filming. I will share my full results coming up. I'm going to get back to dyeing, and maybe if you guys aren't watching, it'll go a little bit smoother. Welcome back. I hope you enjoyed that. Password is always an entertainment. I have some of the finished fabrics here. For the most part, they turned out how I wanted them to. The first 2 just turned out way too dark, and of course those were the ones that I filmed. It's way harder to do everything when you're trying to film it. Just your brain stops working in some very important parts. So that's how we ended up with this super dark. This was supposed to be like baby pink, and it's super dark. It has been a little bit difficult to stitch on at times, especially like this first color here, and that's where I started, is literally the color of the fabric. And I was like, Britta, come on. This like veining that we have here from the blue fabric shouldn't be that much of an issue, because I'm planning on using a hoop that gets relatively close to the stitching and its full coverage. The other one that was too dark was the Jet X Stitch one, and that is kitted up somewhere. I don't know where it is. All of these have been kitted up with their floss now, including the Nature's Journey, which has so many colors that I went full Helen D style and used a cereal box to get some of these colors on here. The jury's still out on when I'm going to start this one, because I'm also importing them to mark up RXP, maybe kind of dumbly, and you have to go back through and hand code all of the symbols. So I'm not sure if I want to do that on 2 more yet, but I do have spring and summer finished. I think if I wanted to start it now, I'd want to start on winter though, so that's kind of what's holding me back there. Fabric turned out gorgeous though. This is the one for Cherry Magpie. Look at that. Look at the beautiful variegation there. I just really love how this one came out. You can just see this one is for the Yule Cat that I want to do. The variegation actually doesn't show up quite as much on here, but you can see it a little more in person. The sparkles kind of overtake it. which I wasn't expecting, but is an interesting learning. And I think it will look really good with the project, so I'm not too worried about that. And then this last one is pretty exciting though, and I think this kind of goes into plans. Last episode, I asked you to please suggest different patterns that really capture that like really bright, vibrant autumn leaves feeling, but are still like graphical and like kind of a scene. So I found the one that I wanted to work on probably 30 minutes after I posted the video, but I so enjoyed everybody's suggestions, and eventually this one did get suggested. But this one is the Autumn Towne CrossStitch by Autumn Lane Stitchery. I'll put the info right here. This is the fabric I dyed for it, really going for that like apple-y color and hoping that it'll work really well. I have pulled a whole bunch of colors, gotten the floss all ready for this one. So, and I did every single like bright leaf color that's taking over. It has this really big, beautiful blocks of color. I'm using a special floss for. So I have this beautiful conversion for it, and I will list it in the description if I have it complete. I don't know. We'll figure this out when I'm editing it. It'll be really fun. So this is going to be a new start sometime for sure. We saw such unbelievable colors in Japan too, and I just really feel like I got to see so many beautiful colors this year that it's really something I want to commemorate 2025 for, when we're looking for good things to note about the year, which sometimes I feel is kind of hard to come up with in the current gestures wildly. Thank you so much for your suggestions, because it just was really awesome to see like the different suggestions, and different designers had some suggestions from Satsuma Street. Satsuma Street has a lot of really good patterns with fall colors. Robin Pickens too. I got a suggestion to look through the stuff I already had. You would think I would have thought of that, but I didn't really. I've saved a lot of patterns from magazines, but I don't necessarily have all of them put in my software, my markup RXP. So I did go through and I looked at them and saw if there were any. There were a couple that did stick out to me, but when I saw this Autumn Towne one, I knew it was like, this is exactly what I'm going for, especially since it's kind of a countryside, so you could imagine it might be a Japanese countryside, might be able to alter some of the buildings or something like that. Thank you so much for participating in that. I had so much fun reading your answers from last time that I would really love to know another question. Can you tell me your favorite winter pattern that you've stitched, or something that's still on your list, or that you're working, it's a work in progress? I would love to know your favorite winter pattern, especially if you don't live in a traditionally winter area. I would love to know what your version of winter looks like. My version of winter right now looks incredibly snowy, and it was very funny because as soon as we left, it snowed. We probably got a foot or so when we were away in Japan. When we came back, we had never seen it snow, so it kind of just felt like the middle of February or March. But we did get to see it snow the other day, and so it felt real. But when we were in Japan, it was still fall, so we didn't see any snow there. We just came over like, oh, okay, all right. We did remember how to drive, all that stuff. Love to see your winter pattern suggestions, and just love to see what you're into too. Maybe there are a couple that I can add to my list. I did finish another project. I started and finished this one in a few days. This is a hat for one of my friend's babies, for a baby girl. She's about 7 months now, but they asked for a winter hat, and so I was going to see them on New Year's Eve, and then I didn't get it finished in time. Mail it to them. I didn't get to see the baby either, so she was sick. But this is a very cute hat. It's called Beloved by Tin Can Knits. It's just this cute, like it has like a little point on the top, but this one's not very pointy. You knit it starting from this side and go all the way up, and then go all the way down. I can't say that I absolutely loved working on this pattern. First of all, I'm used to hats being in the round, and so it's just not as fun when you're going back and forth. And second of all, I didn't like how the pattern was written. It's supposed to be a pretty quick and easy pattern, but I feel like they made it harder. This is no shade to the designer. It's just, this is how my brain works. I thought that they abbreviated way too many things when they could have used one abbreviation. There was a decrease especially that I was like, you don't need 5 abbreviations for that. It made it more complicated when they could have just said CDD, center double decrease, I think it turned out really cute. I still need to block it. As you can see, these are short rows in the back so that it goes around the neck, which I thought was really clever. So I'm really not sure how I'm going to block it. I might just block it flat and then see what happens. This is using Barocco Vintage Vintage Baby DK. It is a merino and acrylic mix. It's really easy to work with. The stitch definition is great. I do recommend using this yarn. You can definitely get away with less than 50 grams of yarn for this hat in the baby size. And I didn't need to worry about yarn usage at all because turns out I could make like 4 of these hats with the amount of yarn I had. Silly. I did want to show you another work in progress that I have that is not cross-stitch. This is Sashiko. This is a Japanese method of embroidery where you're using running stitch and you're using, for the most part, very even running stitches to create a pattern. You can see here that I'm using a pre-patterned cloth, and this will the design will wash off with water. With all of my hand usage, it's already started to fade a little bit, which gives me a lot of confidence that it will be fine and wash off in the water. But you can see the back here too, where it doesn't have the pattern on it. And obviously the stitches like overlap a little bit more and they're not quite as precise on the back. You really try to make the front and the back look the same. But this is my first time, and I will say if you are new to Sashiko or are trying it out for the first time, stick with it for your first whole piece, because the first, I don't know, 3 times I worked on it, I was like, I hate this. I'm not good at it. It should be easy, and it's not easy. You just don't have those skills developed in your little fingers yet. Your muscles don't work that way. So get yourself a real long needle and get yourself one of those palm thimbles like this. It's literally just a piece of metal that goes right here, and it helps you push the big needle through the fabric and pull it out and just go crazy. I bought a ton of Sashiko when I was in Japan. These go for about $10 to $12. You can find them probably for $7 or $8, but you can spend probably up to $20 on just one of these printed cloths. And this kind is the kind that you're actually doubling it up, and so you do get to hide some of your starts and ends in the little seam here. So I picked up a lot of these different types of patterns in Japan. I'll share those in my Japan wrap-up video so that you're not overwhelmed with all of this stuff that I bought. This was a really cool and kind of meditative thing, and I did a lot on trains. That is until I fell asleep, because all of the high-speed trains in Japan are so smooth that I fell asleep on every single one I was on. Thank goodness I was traveling with my partner. Goodness. So that is a project that I've been working on. I hope to have it finished relatively soon so that I can start a new one and have them on the go. This is, it's so great because it really just folds down into this. All I need is the needle, which is already in here, some extra thread, and then something to cut the thread with, which I've been using often on nail clippers, and then just my little tiny scissors for cross stitch. I've actually been keeping my cross stitch and my Sashiko right in this bag, and this hat actually fit in here too while I was working on it, just like a cute little zippy bag. This is actually made by Mince Makes. I'll link their shop. They're a local St. Paul artist, Toby. They're just a really kind person and incredibly creative, and this was done with cyanotype, which with a like lacy crystal plate, and I just think that's so cool. I would also like to share a little bit of haul. I definitely have way more haul than I'm going to share here. I'll probably save the yarn and kitschy novelty things for my Japan wrap-up video. First, I'm going to start out with what I got for Christmas. These are things that I asked for and are heavily cross-stitch related. I got a point driver. Look at this baby. This is a point driver for adding little points in the back of picture frames to hold in your stuff. Really helpful for when you're cross-stitching, because a lot of times you are adding in depth and you need to add some new points. The other ones are probably too deep. I also got, and I was really happy my father-in-law picked this one out for me. He almost always buys me a tool, and so you got to give him some options, and this is one of the options. He got me a picture frame clamp. It's an adjustable 4-corner clamp from Rockler. From all the research that I did, this is like the only metal one out there. You can make your own out of wood, and there's some like cheap plastic and wood ones out there. This one doesn't have amazing reviews, but I figured since it's metal, I can work with it and actually figure out how it works. This will mean that I can make my own frames. I do have a miter box, but it is not very precise, so I'll need to cross that bridge when I'm come to it. But for now, I know I have frames that need to be fixed, and so this will be a good thing to have on hand, and I can kind of work towards what the heck to do with a miter box. If you have a suggestion for a miter box for cutting picture frames, or a miter saw for cutting picture frames, I'm willing to spend a little bit of money to get a good one. You know, like maybe $100 or $200, but it needs to be right. It needs to be versatile. I don't necessarily need something that's going to like cut through tile or, you know, like go really extreme, make furniture out of. But I want something that's going to cut like wood trim for picture frames and also wood trim for my house. So if you have one or have a spouse or a partner that has one that they love, can you please leave a comment below and tell me which one it is? I'm willing to spend, like I said, a little bit more money. So let me know if you have thoughts on that. I would love to hear any expert opinions on that. Also from Christmas, this is from my sister-in-law. She always gets me the best things. We are each other's best friends. I met her through my husband. People always ask if we met each other first and then I met her brother, which no, that didn't happen. I just got really lucky and she's the best sister-in-law a person could ask for. But we have very similar interests and very similar crafts. So we're always getting each other things off the gift list that we actually like, which is great. So she got me a Mill Hill kit, a little stamp that's a Christmas tree. If you haven't had a Mill Hill kit yet, these are so great for throwing in your bag if you're going to spend some time somewhere. I often will keep one of these in my work bag just in case I end up somewhere that I have to wait for a really long time. She also got me this really beautiful stitch counter, row counter, and both the wheels turn so that you can keep track of what row you are on. It's a pin, so you can pin it to either your shirt or your bag. I'll probably pin it to a bag, and it's just really beautiful. I might honestly just hang this up. It's the season of Stitch Witch. My sister-in-law is so thoughtful. I won the lottery with my in-laws. Awesome people. I'm very, very, very kind. And I'm so grateful to have people like them in my life. I wanted to share a couple of crafty souvenirs that I got from Japan. These were some of my very favorite things. So I bought this little strawberry coin pouch, which a coin pouch in Japan is very necessary. A lot of their coins are worth a lot of money. So you can have an entire handful of change and it can be worth, I don't know, $30, $40, $50 US. So it's important to keep track of your change because they even have a 500 yen coin, which is worth about $350 US. And of course, if you want to play those capsule machines, those gachapons, you need 100 yen coins. So I have some 100 yen coins in here and then one of each other denomination to keep for myself. But I just love how cute this purse is. This is real, genuine leather, textured to look like a strawberry. And I also got the matching wallet. These are both from Earl's Favorite in Akihabara. I will put their information down below. And in my next video, I will actually have the link to my Google Maps whole list with commentary of all the things I like and didn't like about each place. That's actually mostly for my record keeping, but I've had a lot of people ask me about specific places, and so I'll just send them the full list and you can see it too. So if you ever decide to go to Japan, feel free to take some locations from my list when you're planning your trip, because you definitely need to make a Google Maps list if you're going to Japan. It's the only way you'll know where you are and if you're at the things that you want to see. But this is Earl's Favorite, strawberry leather. They just do an amazing job. They also have melon textures, more strawberries. They have some like chocolate bears and animals. Really beautiful stuff, reasonably priced. I think both of these together were about 15,000 yen, which comes out to $100. And they're incredibly well made. Quality will last a very long time. And that's very important to me as someone who is trying to buy quality things that will last a long time versus something you have to replace every few years. For me, it is worth it to take some time to find the things that will last you a lifetime. And I truly believe I will be holding this strawberry wallet for the rest of my life. I also went to a lot of craft stores and got craft things from other stores. I want to share the CrossStitch stuff first. I went to Ichizenya, which I think I'm saying that right. It was by our hotel in our second part stay of Tokyo. It was just this amazing craft store. Highly, highly recommend if you're any type of crafter to go there. The people who were working there, and I'm assuming the owner, were so, so nice. And I'll go into more detail into what this store looks like in my Japan wrap-up video. But they have some cross-stitch stuff, a lot of cross-stitch stuff. And I got this really cute Shinkansen. So this is their bullet train. You can make a little 3D Shinkansen with cross-stitch, which I just thought was very cute, very Japan, and very fun. And like I said before, I had a very awesome time on all of the bullet trains. So I got this one to make myself. The same store also had a ton of these wood frames. The hoops that also look like they have this wood, but it's, you know, actually just resin or plastic around it. So I got several. I got one of each size that they had. I just don't see these in store very often besides the very generic ones that they have at Michael's. And as you can see, this big one here was 770 yen, which is about $5. So I really just couldn't pass it up. These will be so nice to finish cross-stitching. And I also just wanted to share some of the fabric that I got. I got way more fabric than this, so I'll probably share more of like a group shot in my Japan wrap-up video. Look at all of this really cute, like strawberries with strawberries, and this like psychedelic neon mushroom print. The options were so cool in Japan. I got so much fabric and it was such a reasonable price. This is about a half yard. This is a half meter, so it's a little bit larger than a half yard. And this was 410 yen, which is about $2.75 or something, for half a yard of this like really high quality cotton. Other plans for the next month or so include just cleaning up my life, organizing things. I want to finish Tokyo Tower. I would like to start the autumn leaves, but that's dependent on whether I feel like it or not. I might start something else, or maybe I'll give Nature's Journey a try and get all of winter into Markup RXP. We'll see. Everything is up in the air. I'm still organizing and coming down from the holidays. I think I need to go make myself some more hot chocolate because that's mandatory on not work days. Hello from the future. Editing Britta here just to share a couple more things before I wrap up this video. I wanted to share some year-end stats with you, as well as my book share and my game share. And I'm trying some new video settings, so let's see how this turns out. So I wanted to share my year-end stats for last year. Overall, I stitched 105,718 stitches. Okay, so there's been a revision on the numbers. I looked through trying to figure out why January was so high, and it was actually including some of 2024 stitching. So here are the updated numbers. My top stitching month was August with 13,323. That's the same. My second most month was February with 11,173. And my total number of stitches was 102,744 stitches. And then also some notable moments. In August, I had a day where I stitched 1,560 stitches on Ragnarok. That was the 16th. My least stitch month was December because I was out of the country for 12 days and then we had a holiday break. I had 2,974 stitches, which honestly, not that bad. And it's clear to me that the months where it is gross outside, like smog and stuff in August and heat, and then January where it was cold and icy, lead to the most stitches, because the months where I had big work weeks, those did not lead to a lot of stitches. So what I'm taking away from this is stay inside more and don't go to work. We'll see how I do on that goal for next year. I wanted to share my book. It's called We All Live Here by Jojo Moyes. It's an incredible book. It is kind of a slice of life book. It's basically about a woman who lives in her house. She went through kind of a messy divorce and she's a writer and she's trying to write her next book. And the people that come in and out of her house and their foibles, and there's drama up the wazoo. It was just a book that felt, you know, like it was emotional. It was a little tough at times. It was a little cringy in moments, but you could tell that she overcame those obstacles, and, you know, the whole like family is your found family thing always speaks to me a lot. You can get it from Libby or the library. It's been out for a little bit, so you shouldn't have trouble finding it. For the game, we recently played the second edition of this, or the sequel of this, but this is the first one. Ganz schön clever, which means that's pretty clever in German. It is made by Stronghold Games. I believe this is readily available in the United States. The cover might look a little bit different. This one is about 8 years old. This game is awesome. If you have ever enjoyed a game of Yahtzee, you will love this game, especially if you like that part where it kind of like triggers more and you get to fill in multiple boxes just from one roll. This is basically what that's about. You can play single player, and the single player rules are actually pretty fun. And then obviously it's best in groups though, and playing 2-player is also very nice. Adding more players does make it a little bit more fun, but playing 2-player is fun enough, which is a big thing if you are a couple and you're trying to find games. You want ones that are like actually fun to play at 2-player, not just work. a 2-player. So definitely check out That's So Clever. It's a really cool game, and if you or anybody in your family likes Yahtzee, it'll be pretty easy to pick up. There's videos online on how to play it, and there's even an online website where you can play it, and it's pretty easy to rack up hundreds of games on that. Don't ask me how I know. All right, back to Past Britta. And yeah, I want to thank you for watching. Please leave down in the comments your favorite winter pattern, either that you have stitched or are stitching or want to stitch. I would love to hear your recommendations, especially if you think that I would like it. Also tell me if you have any experience making picture frames. What kind of miter box do you use, or do you use a miter saw? I would love to know, or if you have any suggestions on a creator I should check out that shares that type of information, which hardware they use, I would love to check them out just so that I can take up one more hobby this year, because why not? I hope you all are having a happy and healthy new year. Again, I've said this before, I will say it again, I might say it every time. Take time for yourself to make something for yourself or for someone that you love. Watch somebody have that joy when they are creating something or doing something that they love. It can make even the worst days more bearable, and your joy is not for anyone else's taking. Your joy is yours, and you get to keep it. So don't let anything in the world going on get you down and take away your joy. Your joy is not someone else's. I've been thinking a lot about that lately. All right, thank you so much for watching. I will catch you in my next video. Watch out for that Japan wrap-up extra that all of my friends and family have been requesting, and I will see you next time. Bye. I need some fill light over there. Go turn on the light so that people can see my face. Okay. That didn't help at all. That's fine. Like right now, you are currently resting on a mushroom kit that helps you grow your own mushrooms at home. Just, I thought you'd like to know that. Have I used it? No. Is it 5 years old? Also, actually, yes, it's 5 years old. So first, I would really love to show you, oh shoot. It's not bad. It's just different. With my own DMC conversion, and I actually did use some fancy floss as well, just to get the colors right, I believe. Maybe. I honestly don't know anymore. You know I've been really, really on top of things because this doesn't even say finished in my Notion. It says I still have like 427 stitches in it. So I don't even know what day I finished this. I definitely surpassed that wanting to get $5,000. I really surpassed that $5,000. I definitely surpassed that 5,000 stitch. Oh. And I'm using the color, and I've still not put the color in my tracker. Almost none of it went to plan. But for now, take it away, Britta. Okay, so now Britta is going through, and she's dying, she's doing all that stuff, blah, 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 blah. Okay. Welcome back.